Hi everybody, we're going to give you a little demonstration on how to make Christmas wreaths. Okay, this is a branch from a noble fir that we were lucky enough to be donated to us, and I'm going to show you how big to cut the pieces to start your wreath. You're going to want to cut anywhere from 6 to 8 inches off this plant here. The tips of the branches are usually the nicest, so we're going to go ahead and do some clipping on those. There is a fair amount of waste, unfortunately, but we'll show you what you can do with the waste material on our next video. That will be called doodahing. So we're cutting this branch up into as many 6 to 8 inch pieces as possible. I'm going to grab that. The tips are usually, like I said, the tips are usually the nicest. So we're going to take everything we can that looks halfway decent. As you can see, this is just one flimsy little arm. I'm going to use it though because we can put 2 little arms together to make one nice piece. Okay, the next is the Western red cedar. We just got out of the woods also. We both have woods, so we take advantage of our free greens, but Western red cedar, the same thing. Actually, it's a little different. The Western red cedar is a little flimsier, as you can see. The branches have to be cut a little shorter. So we're going to go anywhere from 4 to 6 inches on those. I'm going to use the tip, and then I'm going to go ahead and take it back and use the end of the branch. So I'll take the tip and take the back. That's too short to make 2, so I'm going to make one nice one. This is the prettiest part of the whole branch, the end of the twig. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this piece, and remember this piece. I'll show you how to attach this to the wreath. Okay, now we're going to get started on the making of our wreath. This noble fir is nice, big and fluffy and fat, so we are going to take 3 of the pieces that we cut to length, 6 to 8 inches long, and hold them kind of a little bit of a fan shape, but enough to hold in just one hand. And then our flimsy little cedar, we're just going to add 2 pieces of that. But remember that one tip that was so pretty? I'm going to make sure that that tip is going to be seen. You don't always get such pretty pieces, but you'll see how that fits in. Okay, so I've got it. I'm holding it in my hand. All the ends are exactly the same length. I will apply it, attach it right here. Okay, so I've got it in the wires. You just get the wire started, and we don't like hammers around here, so we use our rocks with our names on them. So we hammer it down. It doesn't have to be absolutely tight because we're going to want to stick some things in there later. So you can see how we've got this one. It's about 1 inch from the next bracket. Then we're going to get going here on our next one. We've got 3. This is a nice big fat piece, so I'm just going to add a skinnier little piece so I don't use all of my greens all at once. So it's in my hand here. We've got 2 little pieces of cedar. We hold it together, and the edges are all, the tips are all the same length. Throw it on in there. Make sure all the twigs are underneath at least one of the wires, though. That's real important. Hammer it down. You can keep working it. A really important tip that I didn't tell you about is when you're laying your bouquet down between the brackets, you're covering up the one that you had just done. You're not going opposite, you're not going under, you're going over the top of the bouquet you've just done. That's very important, or else it won't turn out. Okay, so here we go. On to the next. Okay, now we're down to our last 2 sections here. I'm going to show you. You can see that there's this empty section here, and there's another one for the final one underneath all this foliage right here. So we're going to go ahead and attach this one. And you've got to dig under this last little bit here. Find those 2 pegs, and that's your final one. It's kind of tricky on that last one. But there we go. Doesn't matter if you hit a little bit of the foliage, it just makes it smell good. Okay, there we go. There we go. Here's the base of our wreath. Then the next step is making it pretty, doing all the extras. Hello, we're back to Doodah. We've got the framework done, and now we're going to put in the special effects. Okay, so out in our travels we can find alder branches, the pesky old weed that grows in everybody's ditches, but in the wintertime, this time of year, they look really pretty in the wreaths. So we're just going to stick a few twigs in here. I like kind of a natural looking wreath. We can do all kinds of things though. I'll show you a few other little tips you can do with twigs you find around. We're just going to stick a few in, kind of space them out evenly. Maybe one's going on the outside, one's going on the inside of the wreath. So we're going to put a, oops, broke that one. Gotta be a little more gentle here. Just press it in under that, the wire clamp that you worked with to keep the foliage down. So I've got a couple twigs in here. We really love the white pine. This is just a little sprig of white pine foliage. You can put a little white pine in there, here and there. Stick it under that wire. Get it secured under there real good. White pine. We always like pine cones in our wreaths. These are white pine cones. How you do the cones, attach the cones to the wreath, is you get your floral wire and you cut it about 9 inches long. You fold the wire in half so it's even on both sides here. You wrap the wire around the cone about 1/3 of the way down, not at the very top, because if you can imagine if it was up here, it would just the cone would flop around. Twist, give it a couple twists. You attach it. You have the two ends here, so you thread the two ends through the foliage and hopefully get around the wire down below. Get a hold of your frame to work down there. Okay, before you get too carried away, you want to make sure that you pick the wreath up and decide where you're going to put your bow. I'm seeing this being a little bit lighter foliage, so I'm going to go ahead and put the bow right there to kind of fill that spot in. Okay, another really good tip when adding your final touches is make sure that you have a long enough stem that when you attach it to the wire underneath the foliage here, it's going to stick out. So you can imagine if a lot of people want to cut the stem off right here, that would not show up because it would get buried in there. So you want to make sure you leave enough of a stem on your little doodads to have them show when you get them stuck in the wire under the foliage there. So now you can see that. I'm not going to put a lot of holly because that's not the direction I'm going, but I just wanted to show you that little tip about the leaving that stem there. Ginny and I do a lot of spray painting on our little twigs that we collect out in the woods. I'm not going to put any on this particular wreath, but you can see how pretty just spray painted. This is a silver, this is just birch twigs that we've cut, birch branch that we've cut into small pieces like this. And the silver twigs are gorgeous in the wreath, especially with that blue like that. Okay, you can add anything that you find that have some special sentiment to it. The feathers look beautiful in the wreaths, so just be creative and put your own flair on it. Okay, so now the last step here is to find that flat spot that I had thought was a flat spot and put your bow. So there again, you want to make sure you have the wire attached to the back of the bow. I'll fluff this little silly bow once I get it on the wreath, but you just put the bow through the wire, through the frame of the wreath, bring it on back through and twist it, and it's a done deal. Twist it back here. There you go. Merry Christmas!